I really wish to congratulate the IEBC for the way they have handled the Kenya 2022 general elections. And as I begin by commending them, I'm looking back to where we have come from through this process and the results that we have experienced as a result of poorly managed elections in the past. Conflicts, internally displaced people, violence, deaths. So looking at the past and having been actively participated in this 2022 general elections, I really wish to congratulate the IEBC, and I'm very grateful that I have been part of this process as a church leader, as a Kenyan who loves his nation. Well, of course there is a lot to improve or to do differently, but these are people who have worked so hard. If we were to rate them, we'd probably rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, we'd probably rate them to 8 out of 10. IBC Chairman Chebukati was always asking to have the budget reviewed and increased. Of course, we have seen the consequences of that: poor funding, the low turnout. We've seen people really not knowing how to cast the vote. And when we were at the polling stations as observers, we realized that it is very difficult for some people to really go through the whole process, right from identification to the point of putting your ballot in the right place. I appreciate the way the IBC has engaged and used the young people. All the polling stations that I visited as an observer, I found very young people as clerks, which I really appreciate, because in the past we have seen all over the place just old people. Just the fact that we have been able to engage our youthful population into managing elections like this, including the youth service, very, very young youth service and policemen are the people who are guiding the process. I really want to commend that, and it's something that I would really want to see happen more in other institutions where we engage and our own youth. Otherwise, we can keep singing that there are no jobs, and when there are such opportunities, we still continue recycling the old fellows or the old people who have been doing this forever. So that was very commendable. I also appreciate the level of openness and transparency that I saw as an observer. Every polling station that I went to, you saw it was very clear. The location of the ballot boxes, strategically placed, the clerks and the whole process of identifying you, passing the identity card to confirm you are the person, and then on and begin getting all the papers, all ballot papers, up to the end where you mark them, and then eventually you put in the right box. Of course, I would like to see that section of the box being done differently. The colors, oh my goodness, very complicated for many, many Kenyans, even educated Kenyans. You look at the color of the ballot box and then the color of the lid of the box, and people would spend a lot of time right there. That's an area that needs to be done differently. The other thing that needs to be done differently is the area of the biometric. Of course, it's a great progress, right from where we came from when we used to queue. But if somebody will come all the way and come so early to vote, and then when you get there, they are told that the biometric cannot recognize them. And then the poor young fellows, they are taking too many pictures of this person to see whether the person will actually be accepted. And it doesn't happen. And other elderly people are told to go out and wash their thumbs because they are very rough, so that they can be accepted by the biometric. And even after doing all that, there are some that didn't work. In one polling station, they lit a big bonfire outside. And if your fingers, they were rejected by the biometric, you were told to go there and warm them in the fire so that you can see whether they'll be accepted. So those kind of methods don't look very, very modern, especially in relation to the Kim's kids and all that. to try and solve a problem of identifying a voter by telling them to go wash their hands out or warm them at the fireplace, or in one polling station I found they had bought glue, and they would smear you glue all over the place and then wipe you. And they are wiping you with the jacket of the clerk. And then you come back again. All these trial and error methods of trying to get the person to be identified, they can be very frustrating to a voter. And especially if eventually the clerks are not willing or they are not ready to take you through the manual system, those are some of the people that we lost, and then we complain about poor turnout. So right now it is time for waiting for the results, and that is another area that I really want to see done differently by IEBC, to try and speed up the process of announcing especially the presidential results. My expectation is that the new government will quickly, without delay, go and address the question of the high cost of living that we have spoken of for a long time. Because really the Kenyan people are suffering. No wonder some of them said they did not see the need to vote, because they wondered, why vote when we are struggling that much? So I think that is a priority, and I wish that the new government will prioritize that, instead of going to parliament to start reviewing their salaries upward. It's going to be very important that they address the needs, and especially the food security issue of the Kenyan people. Otherwise, as a church leader, as a parent, as a Kenyan, I am very, very optimistic that we are going to have a good Kenya, we are going to have a good government, and I continue to appeal for peace. Peace, 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 and peace. May the Lord bless Kenya, and may the Lord bless the Church of Kenya. Looking forward to a great revival in this nation after the new government is put in place.